Hi, everyone, and thanks for checking out this movie review. So, today we're going to be taking a look at the final and 12th installment in the Friday the 13th franchise, the horror series that I've been taking a look at for the month of August here. So, we've reached the end. We've reached the 12th and final film, and that is the 2009 Friday the 13th reboot. So, yeah, my first time watching it was for this review. I hadn't seen it in the theater or any time before leading up till now. I have the I don't know if you can see it with the killer cut edition here on Blu-ray. So I'll just kind of go through the setup and the premise of the film as I normally do, and then I'll get into my thoughts and review, which will contain spoilers. So Friday the 13th is a 2009 American slasher film, which was directed by Marcus Nispel and written by Damian Shannon and Mark Swift. It's a reboot of the Friday the 13th franchise, which began in 1980 and is the 12th installment. Nispel also directed the 2003 remake of Tobe Hooper's The Texas Chainsaw Massacre, while Shannon and Swift wrote the screenplay for the 2003 crossover Freddy vs. Jason. The film was produced by Platinum Dunes and Crystal Lake Entertainment, and it was distributed by both New Line Cinema and Paramount Pictures. It stars Jared Padalecki, Danielle Panabaker, Aaron Yo, Amanda Rigetti, Travis Van Winkle, and Derek Mears, and follows Clay Miller as he searches for his missing sister Whitney, who is captured by Jason Voorhees while camping in Woodland at Crystal Lake. So the movie opens on June 13th, 1980, where a young Jason Voorhees watches his mother Pamela get beheaded by a camp counselor who is trying to escape Mrs. Voorhees' murder spree around Camp Crystal Lake. Almost 30 years later, a group of friends, including Whitney Miller, arrive for a camping trip at Crystal Lake where they hope to find a crop of marijuana growing in the woods. That night, an adult Jason kills everyone except Whitney, whom he captures as she resembles his mother at a young age. 6 weeks later, Trent, his girlfriend Jenna, and friends Chelsea, Bree, Chewy, Nolan, and Lawrence arrive at Trent's summer cabin on the shore of Crystal Lake. Meanwhile, Whitney's brother Clay Miller arrives at the lake to search for her. Clay visits Trent's cabin, and Jenna agrees to help him search for Whitney. Chelsea and Nolan go wakeboarding on the lake where Jason kills Nolan with an arrow and fatally stabs Chelsea with a machete. Meanwhile, Clay and Jenna search the old Camp Crystal Lake campgrounds where they see Jason hauling a body into the abandoned camp house. So that's kind of the setup and the premise of the movie, the opening of the movie. I'll go through the cast here. Jared Padalecki is Clay Miller, Danielle Panabaker is Jenna, Amanda Rigetti is Whitney Miller, Travis Van Winkle is Trent, Aaron Yo is Chewy, and Derek Mears as Jason Voorhees, and Caleb Gus is a young Jason Voorhees. So yeah, that's kind of the setup and the premise. As I said, this is the first time I'd watched this movie. Was preparing for this review. Um, with the Killer Cut edition here on Blu-ray. I heard a lot of people talk about it, mostly positive. I think most people enjoy this reboot or remake, whatever you want to call it, more than they do like Nightmare on Elm Street and some of the other remakes that have been tried. I know the Halloween ones by Rob Zombie was really hit and miss with people. Um, but yeah, generally it seemed like the reviews were pretty positive for this one. Not everybody, of course. Um, I didn't really have a lot of expectations going into it. I've had a pretty open mind, and it didn't really do it for me. I'll be honest with you. It was okay. I'll just kind of go through the pros and the cons, the things I liked and the things that I didn't like. Starting with the pros, Derek Mears. I thought he was pretty solid as Jason. He did a good job with his take on the character, kind of how he played him very aggressively. He wasn't just sort of a zombie. He actually had speed and actually ran at times or moved quickly after his victims. Um, so he was solid, very menacing and big. The movie looks good, obviously. Michael Bay and everything. Solid cinematography and camera work, I thought, in this movie. The kills were pretty brutal. There's some creativity with the kills there. My favorite kill was probably the one under the dock where she's trying to hide from Jason. All of a sudden, she has the machete go through the top of her head, and he pulls her up. Um, Pretty good gore in this movie with quite a bit of on-screen blood. They didn't shy away from too much of the gore like they have in previous movies. I like the beginning of the movie with Jason seeing his mom being killed or having her head chopped off. I thought that was a nice little touch that really didn't get in the first movie. We're just led to believe that he witnessed it or that he knew about it. So that was a pretty good sort of twist there. Not twist, but just a kind of a good caveat there. The look of Jason is pretty good. I didn't really have any problems with his look in this movie. I thought the score and the music was good in the movie. Good audio cues in different scenes as he's chasing his victims. Pretty good special effects. They didn't use too much CGI in this movie that I noticed or that was noticeable. More practical effects and good makeup. And there's pretty good atmosphere, especially in that first 20 minutes or so before the opening titles, um, where the um, where the original six, I think there were, went camping during that part, where she ended up being the only survivor. Good atmosphere there. So, yeah, that's about it for my pros. That's about it for my pros for this movie. I'll get into my cons a little bit. Oh, I think I have to apologize to all the previous movies where I ripped the characters because this movie take the cake, man. I mean, the characters in this movie gave me a headache. They really did. I mean, they're so. I can't believe how cliche they are. You would think in 2009 they could have written the characters a little bit better than they did in this movie. Yeah, they're just complete cutouts, just cliche characters. I don't care about any of them whatsoever. I actually was rooting for Jason to kill a good majority of them. So that's a big problem in this movie that holds it down. And then I'm going to say hashtag not my Jason with all the hashtags going around nowadays. I know some people probably enjoyed this take on Jason, which is obviously different than the Jason that you see in the first 11 movies, well, the ones that he's in anyway. Um, yeah, he's different. He's smart in this movie. He's setting traps and hiding bodies, and Jason's never been concerned about that in any of the previous movies. And I know it's a different take, and some people probably like that, being a smarter killer. I kind of like the fact that Jason just didn't care about hiding bodies or setting traps. He didn't need to. He had a machete. He was big and strong, and it was invincible, basically. And that's what I liked about him. And so this was a different killer. This is a different slasher killer that basically had the Jason mask and was still called Jason Voorhees. So yeah, I really didn't like any of that. The dialogue in this movie is the worst. I mean, it's just I can't stand to listen to these characters talk. The acting is bad, which is pretty typical of a Friday the 13th movie, but it's definitely the dialogue. I know I've said this in previous movies, but they just keep outdoing themselves as they go here. Got to talk about the gratuitous TNA and the gratuitous sex scene, particularly one in the middle towards the end of the movie where, man, it had to be. I mean, that was like a porno there. I mean, they focused on this sex scene more than they did any of Jason's kills in this movie, and I am all for TNA. I know it kind of goes hand in hand with the slasher movie, but it was just so over the top gratuitous in this movie. It was just there to try to get young guys, for the most part, into this movie. Um, it served no purpose, real purpose in this movie. Um, yeah, but it was definitely in this movie. I mean, at the beginning of the movie, you have a young woman that's basically lubing up her boobs for her boyfriend, I guess, as the other guy's looking away and trying to explain something to her. It's just there was no reason for it. And then of course they go at it in the tent and but the sex scene towards the end of the movie with the last group of characters. I think it's Trent, and I don't even know the woman's name. Um, I mean that lasted a good 10 minutes, literally, of screen time. So yeah, it's a big what the WTF there. The final scene at the end is stupid and not needed, where Jason naturally breaks through the dock and has the big jump scare at the end. It's like, oh, that's right, I'm watching a 2000s movie. Now I remember, as if I needed to be remembered. Um, and it's just that being said, I said this about Nightmare on Elm Street to a certain extent, the remake. It's a typical 2000s horror movie, jump scares galore, and a nice shiny polish to the movie that apparently does it for some people, and a slight different take on the character. But I mean, it's so cliche. It's so 2000s. jump scares and nonsense. The final girl is not that strong either. I guess the final girl is Whitney Miller, played by Amanda Rigetti. You could argue that Jenna and Whitney Miller are kind of the final girl. Um, but she's just not a strong final girl. I mean, she's chained up for most of the movie, and even though she does find a way on her own to get out of the chains, Jason catches her and rechains her, and then she has to be rescued by her brother in order to ultimately be rescued, at least until the end. I don't know what happens there with the big jump scare scene. I don't really care. But yeah, just not a strong final girl. So I don't really have much more to say about it, guys. It's just really a movie that doesn't do it for me, especially as a Friday the 13th movie. It's not the worst horror movie I've seen, or even the worst slasher movie I've seen, but very 2000s, very forgettable. Characters are awful. Didn't care about any of them. Um, yeah, it's just not my Jason. As I said, hashtag not my Jason. I don't need a smart Jason Voorhees. It works for other characters, and I know it's a different take, and some people probably enjoyed it, but yeah, just not for me. So I'm going to go ahead and give this movie a 6.5 out of 10 as far as my rating goes. If you like it, don't beat me up too bad. To each their own. No, you can go ahead and comment down below what you think about this movie. Give me your thoughts about it. It just didn't work for me. So 6.5 out of 10, I'm going to go with. Please like my video and hit the little notification bell below to see my last two videos coming up for this franchise, which will be ranking videos, ranking all the final girls in all 12 of these films, and then, of course, doing my final ranking of all 12 films from my least favorite to my favorite. Those will be dropping in the next couple of days, so make sure to stay tuned for that. And also, please subscribe to my channel to see other video reviews that I do for standalone movies, as well as what my next upcoming horror franchise will be that I'll be taking a look at. I'll be announcing that with my final ranking of this franchise, which will be ranking all 12 movies. I'll have my announcement of what I'll be looking at next. So thank you for watching this review, everybody. Have a great day. Bye.